Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. I wanted to make, I usually don't do these kind of like quick update videos, but I've got something else to talk about that's a bigger kind of issue after I announce what you see on the screen here. Maps came on today on the forums and said there's a double artifact XP weekend. That's going to be all your nth metal. It's going to be doubled when you fortify. And so it's, that's great. We haven't had double XP weekend in a while. The bigger issue is this thing, the comment here. So a third artifact equipment slot is set to open with game update 86 next week. Pick your third artifact and consider ranking it up this weekend. So what that means is obviously now we're going to have 3 slots instead of 2 for your artifacts. So this is definitely a weekend that you're not going to want to miss. And get your detectors, buy your Kryptonian time capsules, buy your assassin time capsules for the sunstones and the sinstones. Spend all your broker money, stuff like that, because I'm sure we're not going to double for one for a while. But that's like the yay news. Now the not so yay news, what people like, they're getting caught up in these segments right now. What they're kind of failing to realize with these 3 artifacts is when you look at balance in terms of this is strictly going to be like a DPS conversation. It's going to be awesome for not so much tanks because they don't really have any artifacts anyway, but it's going to be great for controllers and I guess healers because not like they have really any artifacts either. But all this does is show a significantly larger gap between precision-based DPS and might or play from the trade DPS. And what I mean by that is when you can have 3 artifacts in your slot and 3 distinct ones you can level, all the buffs will stack, just like Mep said. If I go back here to like staff host tracker, just in case anyone's wondering. Here, the Mr. Sting actual stats do all the items each stack. From the primary one, they all stack. So it's obviously all the stats will buff, stack, and all the buffs will stack as well. So going back to the conversation here. So if I'm a precision-based DPS, I already have the Venomous Dispenser. This is going to be your number 1. So you're going to have up to 54% increase on your precision, and reducing your power generation, whatever. But you have your weapon buff will give you 54% increase at 160. That's already your go-to. So then we go from there. We go into the Legionary Sparring AI, which is the tank one, but this is the counter one. So countering an enemy increases your precision and weapon DPS by up to 16% for a short time and grants immunity. So what that means is that when you're bow smoke bombing, you're already doing interrupts every single time, so you're going to catch a counter, and then boom, your damage will go up. If you're on single target, you're using dual flurry shot, which is a block breaker. So you block break an enemy, boom, your damage goes up, and you get immunity. So even if you interrupt something with bow smoke bomb, you get immunity for a full length of another bow smoke bomb combo, so you don't have to worry about that. And as well as all these artifacts have precision in their stats. So we go from there. Then we go to the Demon Fang. That's the healer one. Healer one, every 12 seconds, hitting an enemy with a weapon attack empowers your weapon. While empowered, your next 6 weapon attacks deal additional damage to your primary target equal to up to 7.4% of your resto and restores power. So now every time you use a weapon attack, which obviously you're doing consistently as a precision-based DPS, your next 6 weapon attacks get stronger, and because you're not running the cog of Megadon, which we'll jump to here. This is the one that was like the Pruck one. So hitting a cross weapon combo, your combo, the whole group gets precision based up to max of 1.25% of your health. So that's just like the Might artifact. So you're not running the cog, so you don't necessarily need that extra health. So you can put all those extra skill points. Like say, take me for example, with my Might artifact and being at the 420 skill points or whatever. 424, I think now. I can put like 100 and I think it's like 140, 145, something like that into health to help my Tetrahedron artifact. So as a Prec DPS sitting in the same position, now he can put all those 100 skill points into Resto. So now this makes a bit more sense because you have a higher Resto because you don't necessarily need the health because it's not going to help you running this 3 artifact setup as a Prec DPS. So now you have a higher resto from the Demon Fang, you got interrupts from the Sparring AI and immunity, and you got the Venomous Dispenser already being, completely broken combos in both Smoke Bomb and Dual Flurry Shot. So you got three artifacts, and we'll go back to the cog here. With the 3 artifact slots, the cog, since the cog was the first artifact that came out, there is a really, really high chance if you run into another Prec DPS that they have the cog equipped. Why? Because they're probably not like, the end game top tier hardcore players that want to level up the artifacts that are going to help them the best. They're just going to stick the cog on because, well, they've got an extra slot now. They most likely have a cog. So that means you can leech off their precision buff from the cog onto yours. So you're running the Venomous, Legionary Sparring AI, and the Demon Fang, and you've got another Prec DPS most likely running the cog, because there's enough Prec DPS out there. So you're getting 4 buffs. On top of that, there's always going to be a Might DPS in the group. So he's going to be running the Tetrahedron of Ungren, which is going to be the Might buff. So you got him buffing your Might, and then you got 4 artifacts buffing your Prec. So you have 5 as a Prec DPS. You have the Venom Wrist, Legionary Sparring Eye, Demon Fang, Cog, and Tetrahedron. So when you're a Prec DPS, and even if you have these at 120 or the Venom Wrist at 160 or whatever, you got 5 buffs. 5 of them. So instead of 3, you have 5. Helping your already broken damage combos. Now let's take a look at this from a Might DPS. So the Might DPS, I've got the Tetrahedron, which is going to help everyone. So it's not like that's a personal buff to me. All the health skill points I put is going to give Might to everyone else. I've got the main one, which is the Scrap of Soul Cloak. So obviously Prec DPS would run that, but most Prec DPS are running Neo Venom. It's not necessarily the need to run the Soul Cloak, is just an option. But if you're looking for the max buff that you can be, you'd run the 3 combos that I said. So you don't, and plus the Soul Cloak doesn't give precision anyway. Those 3 artifacts gave you precision, so your base precision is already the highest it possibly can be. So Might DPS, we got the Tetrahedron, we got the Scrap the Soul Cloak, just buffing our supercharge, and most power sets don't even have a great supercharge either. It's not like every power set's like Quantum or Munitions with a really good supercharge. Most of them kind of suck anyway, like Blizzard, or half the time they end up running Neo Venom boost anyway, or they run 100%er that's not that great. So other than that, what are you going to run as a Might DPS? What's your third artifact? The Solar Amplifier. That's going to be your third one, and that, yes, is going to help your base Might, but it's not going to give you a buff at all unless you're running Heat Vision. And even then, with the Solar Amplifier at 160, you still have to run the entire duration of Heat Vision. So it might help you on single target, but you're already going to get cooked by single target by Prec DPS anyway. So, and it's not like Heat Vision is going to be strong enough to use on AoE targets as in Raid, because you got to carry the entire duration. And then by the time the entire duration finishes and sets up the burning dots and sets up that extra explosion, you're most likely already doing the same, if not more, damage by doing your regular rotation. So Might DPS will be running the Solar Amplifier, the Might buff to the entire group, and the Soul Cloak. Those are the only 3 options we can run, because we're not using our weapons at all. So Sparring AI is kind of pointless. Unless you're a hybrid DPS, but even then hybrid isn't really efficient either. So it's just it's great that we have the 3rd artifact slot, I guess, from support roles. At least as a troll, it's gonna be helpful. But as a tank, there you got no options. As a tank, you only had as a tank, I guess you could run the Soul Cloak now. You could run this, but even then, there's only one tank I think with a supercharge is indecent for tank stance anyway, and that's Atomic. So it's why would you run the Soul Cloak anyway, just for the extra health? So that's the thing. All these roles, like Might DPS, not so much controllers, but healers, and so Might DPS, healers, and tanks will all run these 3 artifacts just for the base stat increase, just on the base stats. So all those roles are just worrying about the base stats, which is still helpful. But a Prec DPS gets to worry about 3 separate stacking buffs in addition to the other 2. So the actual artifacts themselves and the buffs they give are helping Prec DPS infinitely more than they were helping any sort of other role in the entire game. And that's the issue. That's the underlying issue here. It's great we have 3 artifacts, but the way these artifacts are situated, Prec DPS get I guess not even the controllers are kind of helpful now. You could run the Amulet, the Soul Cloak, and the Power Set Power Harness. So that's helpful, but it's not like you needed the Amulet. It's just obviously you'd use it now for the extra vit. So, but it's not going to tip the tides in a raid or anything like that, where the Prec DPS now will. So that's my 2 cents. I don't think a lot of people are catching on to that and running that three combo, because you're going to see so many players, because they don't have the time to invest in artifacts. They're most likely always going to have the Cog if they're Prec DPS, and most likely always going to have the Tetrahedron if they're Might DPS. So you get those two free buffs basically, and you can focus on the three other artifacts which buff you personally, or being selfish. So that's what people aren't seeing with this double XP weekend. That's what they're not catching on to. Not so much the double XP weekend, but they're not catching on to the fact that now Prec DPS, their viability goes through the roof.